welcome back to my channel. Today is definitely a special day. Do you know what I'm going to title it?
15 Years of Hell.
Cheers to 15 years.
Oh my god!
We're back. It is our 15-year anniversary and it's crazy.
It's been a minute.
It's been a minute. But before we get truly into today's video, I know it's going to be long. I know this going into it, but I hope you'll enjoy just kicking back with us. But with that said, I'm going to put some timestamps in the description box for you guys in case you can't watch it all right now, want to come back, or you don't care about one part, then you got the next part. I got you.
True.
But what we're going to do, and I asked you guys over on my Instagram this past week if you guys wanted to see kind of a vegan wine taste test, which is where Nate comes in. If you did not know, he is a manager at Total Wine, and not only that, a wine manager. So this is his realm, and we thought it'd be kind of, you know, a good fitting pair to do it with this kind of video, but also to do a Q&A, a couples Q&A while we do this. And I got about 21 questions from you guys, and some are a little bit repetitive, but I'll answer them all. But if you guys enjoy hanging out with us as we get into today's video, please do give it a thumbs up. We appreciate it.
Do it.
Let's just do it.
Let's just do it.
Let's just do it. Just like the 15 years. Just do it.
Just get it over with.
Just do it.
Knock this out.
All right. So real quick, before we do jump into any questions, vegan wine, let's talk about it. You guys know, most of you probably watching today are people who have followed us for quite a while and know that we do eat vegan. This becomes a little bit tricky in the wine world. And honestly, we're not always 100% perfect with it. To be very candid, I never knew that wine wasn't vegan to begin with.
A lot
of wine isn't. Let's talk about it real quick. Why aren't wines vegan? What happens?
So the primary thing, or the global standard of why most wines don't even try and categorize into vegan or non-vegan wines, is because of some of the actual production part of winemaking. And specifically, toward the end of winemaking, there's a filtration process. Some of those filtering processes are, of course, as simple as having an actual sheeted filter, and there's a physical, and then there's the chemical filtration that happens in a lot of wines, both red and white, but there are different compounds for each, of course. And some of those filtration additives or filtering agents that are used are animal byproducts.
Yeah, I never knew years ago.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you have to remember when people were making wine hundreds of years ago, a lot of the times the concept of cleaning something came from animal proteins and fats. So old school like soaps and things like that, you would rub that on your skin, it would attach to dirt molecules, and you'd wash it away. So that same conceptual idea went into the beginning of winemaking process when they no longer wanted to have certain chemical compounds in wine that made people more sick and things like that. So they're added. Now there are alternatives that do the same thing that are not animal derivatives. So it's not
be the vegan-friendly wines.
Vegan-friendly wines, of course. And I don't know if it's cheaper or more expensive or just not a common practice. Yeah, but it really does come down to some of these winemakers, I think, accidentally veganed their wines. Some of the winemakers went out of their way to make them vegan. And then I'm sure there's actually a plethora of wine out there in the world that people never really even said vegan is a thing.
They never considered it.
So they don't know if it's vegan or not, or they've never cared enough to look to brand it in that way. It's become more of a thing in domestic wines. I actually found some French wines and an Italian white, which is hard to do, that are vegan as well. So I wanted to kind of show you guys that you're not just stuck into California. There's a broad spectrum. It's just not something that I think winemakers as a whole are saying, I need to make my wine vegan.
The marketing's not quite there as a priority right now.
And it's not a consumption of animal product when you're drinking the wine. It's part of the process.
And again, you know, we're just telling you that just because, again, this was knowledge we gained over our years, and sometimes it's hard to always be perfect, but want to give you some options so when you're shopping or you want something for at home or you're going somewhere to a party or whatever, you have something you can take with you. So, all right, well, Nate is going to pour the first one for us, and I'll kind of start the questions. Otherwise, we won't be here all day. I'm going to leave your names out of it. I will put the the questions on the screen, but just in case you wanted to remain anonymous in your question, I got you. But I see you. I know who you are. And the first one, though, actually was not a question, but just said, don't have any questions, but congratulations to you both. Love you. And I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So the first real question, and I'm literally going in order of which I received them, is sex the same, different, or better, or eh?
Well, not the last one.
No, like I like to say, like a fine wine.
Nice.
Better with age.
I think it absolutely gets better over time, and directly to us, I would say, yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.
All right, but tell us about this one. What is this?
So it's an Italian white Griot specifically, I believe, because I've never had one before, and I'm really excited to try it.
He was really excited.
So what's nice about this is I think it has more peachier notes to it. So Pinot Grigio will have like tree fruit tones to it, so apple, pear, things like that will kind of run through it. Now, of course, there'll be minerality on the back end and things like that. So this should retain some of that minerality. Yeah, so you can smell how the fruit notes on the nose are far more open. They're not tight. They're not overly like that acidic kind of punchy, maybe a little astringent noted on the nose. Ooh.
That's really good.
Still has tons of acidity. Your mouth instantly starts watering from all the
Feel it going
refreshing
down.
acidity. Yeah, it's not overly boozy, but it definitely has a back end of alcohol to it.
It's good.
But light. Really nice.
I like that.
Oh, and then just that little bit of like creamy minerality that kind of rides through the end palate. I would enjoy this all by itself. I wouldn't even play with food with it. It would just be something where I would just open this and drink it. It doesn't need food to be paired with it.
This is not too personal, which it's not, but I appreciate that. How do you guys know one and done, or to have more kids? How do you know? That's tough. I mean,
it is tough. It wasn't decided at any given moment.
Yeah.
The conversation definitely arose a couple times down the way. I mean, even over the years. But it's hard to say. I think it's honestly, it flows on a scale. To sit there and say, hey, let's go for it. I think both people really have to match up at the same time. And
we haven't.
Yeah, and
we
you
really
don't
haven't.
And you don't want to force it either, right?
No.
Yeah.
I always said I didn't really necessarily want any kids, or I just wanted one. But this was going back to like when I was a teenager and just like the idea of it. And then when we got together and the first few years, we both kind of said, yeah, one would be cool, but we both really want a boy. Yeah. At the end of the day, we did not really care, but if we could choose, that's where it would come down to. And so when we had just one and it was a boy, it was kind of one of those, well, there you go. Really, I don't think there's like a perfect answer to that, because even us today, we're still not like solid 100% that we wouldn't have another. We're 90-ish% that we wouldn't have another. But it's kind of the scale of like, are you gonna mesh where you both are feeling that at the same time and for a prolonged period of time, and then kind of move forward with that idea? And we just haven't. And now we are hitting the age where it's not impossible by any standpoint, but it's also kind of like, if we're going to, it kind of needs to happen kind of soon, just ideally, and we're pretty much good. I mean, our son is 10, if you did not know, and so it definitely is the idea of starting all over at this point, which has its pros and of course has its cons. But yeah, so I mean, really, there's not a perfect answer, but going way back, we just kind of had that idea that we would have one, and if it's a boy, then we did it. And so that's kind of what happened, really. Okay, let's do one more.
Okay.
Did you only want one child? Pretty much, yes. Pretty much.
Yeah, I would say before.
I'm an only child, by the way, too, which is kind of weird because most people I hear, if you're an only child, would prefer to have more than one kid. And I didn't really ever have that. I just never had that feeling even.
At one point in time, I was very much a 2 kids, boy girl, like that idealism that I think some people have.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have one kid and then
the
it's
reality
like,
hits.
and then I mean, because I'll say it, the first 2 years, man, that's work.
That gets into some other questions to come for sure.
Okay,
It does. But yeah, so that's just kind of where it's at. Now, let me know in the comments, my friends. One, if you are married or even just, in a relationship, how long you've been together. We should have said this in the beginning, just because it's really cool to see. I know a lot of you are on like 40 years. Some of them are. I'm like, what? My parents just had like their 44th or 42nd. I'm like, oh my God. And, but let me know. And then let me know, are you typically more of a white wine person or a red wine person? I'm more of a red wine person if I had to choose one.
She's literally just a cab girl. She's one of those.
Yeah. What was your biggest struggle as a couple? By the way, real quick, I did read majority of these to Nate just to get the juices flowing over the last couple days, just so we're not like, But with that said, we truly didn't come up with perfect answers for any of these. But that one in particular, when I saw it come in, I was like, I was having a hard time picking a single thing between us, like as a struggle between us. But when I asked Nate that, we both said right there on the spot, his stepdad, his dad, and the passing of him. And again, if you've been here with us for a few years, it's been like 3 years almost, huh? It's crazy. But you might remember that. And so it was almost 3 years ago, near Thanksgiving time. That was probably the hardest. Now, that's not necessarily that it was the hardest on us as a couple, which I think there's a question about that coming. But that was definitely just a very, very hard time, rightfully so.
That was a lot. That was a big, that was a heavy thing that happened for us.
Yeah.
And it was very difficult, and it was something that, took a lot of, not necessarily effort to work through, but it took through thinking about it and being there for each other. And both of us had our times where, man,
one was good and one wasn't, and it was rough.
And it took a while. I mean, there's that, of course, that blunt reality that kicks in the moment it happens, and a few weeks afterwards and things like that. And then honestly revisiting it, like, or it's surfacing again, not revisiting, but surfacing again months later, and just kind of waiting, knowing that maybe
it's coming again.
Like you knowing me well enough that I hadn't processed everything. And I feel like there was a certain point in time where she was like waiting in the wings, like,
here it comes.
my babe is gonna just fall apart at any moment, and I just need to be there. And it happened. There's a reality thing that happens, but that was a difficult situation to navigate through.
Yeah, I would say that was the hardest thing we went through. But again, I think there's a question coming with more personal to us. But what is this bottle?
This is I put it over here. So I can't.
Okay, I got the name. I got you. I got you.
Chateau de la Brouillerie.
Yeah, that was good.
That was about as close as I've ever gotten. Actually, we pulled it up online, and I was like, I can't even say that. I can't
do it. Well, don't look at me.
It is a white wine from Loire, France.
Okay.
And it is going to be 100% Chenin Blanc. It can be made a lot of different ways. I don't know why I always compare it to a Chardonnay, because it's so different, but you can do so much with it. Okay. So this here should be a little bit drier.
Yeah, it doesn't smell nearly as sweet too.
Right, because we've had a Vouvray before.
Okay.
And Vouvrays are also 100% Chenin Blanc, but they're very, very luscious. They have tons of residual sugar, and you get these big peachy notes, almost like honey tones that come through them.
It's different.
Ooh.
I like it.
Wonderful little like pear notes.
I like it. Yeah.
And it kind of sits around the back end. You know that earth spiciness that I was talking about? It literally just kind of sits on your palate. And what's nice about it is it doesn't sit on the back of your palate. No, it literally is just roof of your mouth and around. And
these are good. These are sometimes we're not one to say when a wine's bad. We say it. These so far we're 2 for 2. Yeah.
Let's see what it says on here. Ooh, it actually refers to it as anise. Almost like that anise and spice.
All right, next one. Now we're getting into a fun one here. What do each of you do that annoys the other?
Oh man, the list. How long is this video going? How much time we got? I don't think we have enough batteries for this camera.
That is what annoys him.
Oh
when I
man,
go,
it drives me up the wall, you guys.
Up the wall?
Up the wall. Kim does this thing where she's always mad. Well, so here's where it stems
Where
from.
she's always mad.
Here's where this stems from.
Hit me with
She's
it.
always mad at me whenever I'm tired. Whenever I'm tired, there's like this backhand, like, he shouldn't be tired. Whatever. I don't even get the rationale half the time.
Yeah. You're just gonna eat your noodles and noodles?
Yeah. But then what happens is I get up before her, right, to go get us, and I said it right, us coffee, or come downstairs and get her something to drink or something like that. Or at night when she's tired and she needs something, I have to get up and get it. But she's mad at me for ever being tired, ever. And
Ever.
and she does this thing when she gets really tired. She doesn't want to elaborate her thoughts.
I'm too tired.
She doesn't want to put in the effort to just
tired.
Communicate.
Too tired.
She has different levels of tone of the same exact sound, and I have to defer what that is. And baby, can you give me the sound? Oh, that's an angry. See, that's an angry. That's like I got on her. Now do it in a different tone. Oh, she's whining. She's whining because she's like, that normally goes along with like a little shoulder. Get one more. One more. Go ahead. Oh, that's one where I'm fed up. I'm fed up with that, and I'm like, no, I'm not giving you a back rub, or no, I'm not getting up right now. And she goes, It's like this longer, drawn out, almost like a question, like, why? Why?
But I can't say why.
But you can't say why. It's got to be a, Go ahead. There it is. There it is.
He really thought that one through, too.
I didn't. That's just forefront of mind. I didn't go far to get all that. That's just there.
I love you.
I love you too.
I love you too. Yeah, so for me, mine's simple. He's messy as all get out. Like, he is so messy. And anything he does is a trail behind him. Like, it's just, you leave your mark everywhere with something, and it just drives me crazy. Love you so much. How do you keep the love alive? How do you overcome arguments? So it's same person, two questions.
All right. Decide to yourself not to be boring to your spouse, and put some damn effort into it. There have been multitude of years in our marriage where I was not good at that.
Right.
And it's something that I think I've given the effort, and I've
reaped the benefits.
Had the thoughts, and
yeah.
and I've gotten the affirmation or the from her in those. So you put in that effort and you see that you're getting something out of it. It makes you want to do it more. But it stems from that first point of effort.
Yep.
Don't be boring.
Yeah.
Mix it up. Put some effort. Put some thought into it, and try and keep the other person on their toes with almost anything, whether it's doing something just out of the blue. I mean, I guess I've always been the person who I'm just like, I'll bring home flowers because I allow myself to think about her all the time. So if I'm at the grocery store and I see flowers and and you come to mind, I'll buy her flowers.
Buy the flowers, guys.
Oh, why'd you get me flowers? It's Wednesday. It's Wednesday. You know, I don't have to have a reason.
Yeah.
That's how you keep it alive,
Yeah.
in the simplest of ways.
No, I agree. And we have this joke too of like, I'd say 90% of the time, I'm the one who makes him food to take to work or whatever it is. Sometimes it doesn't happen. Life is life, you know, but yesterday. Day before, but but you know, we have the joke of like, he'll text me sometimes of like, my lunch was good, thanks, you know, and I'll put, I made it with love. And then sometimes it's like, I'll ask him, you know, did you enjoy it or whatever it was, and it was okay. Well, I didn't put as much love into it that time, you know? But it's just little things of like, you know, just trying to, you know, help out the other person naturally makes you love someone even more, you know, and I feel like we've definitely gone through some lulls in the 15 years for sure. It's interesting because if you would, this would be in our 10 year right now. our answers might be a little different, you know? And I feel like in the last 5 years especially, we've really grown a lot as a couple. And it's kind of crazy too when you look at that for what that is on just the age in general. That puts us in our 30s. And in our 20s, it was a lot of figuring it out. And because you're figuring out who you are, you know?
Yeah.
And so I feel like when we hit 30s, that's when it started to come together more. How do you overcome arguments? He gives up.
Jesus.
I mean, it's the only way I know.
Okay. So, Kim has a hard time with reality, as you can see, by her knee-jerk reaction to whatever oblivious thing is in her head at the moment. So it's funny because, and I'll bring up this point because I know you hate the word, and deep down inside it's just inferred a different way. So I think the default answer to that is compromise. You find a compromise.
I hate compromise.
She hates compromise because that means you both lost. Because
that's how I feel.
that's who she is.
I hate it. Life is compromise. I get it, but I hate it.
It is. I think I work it more in conversations about give and take, and then there's also things too. I think we've gotten a lot better at communicating with each other more effectively, using the right verbiage or the right take, so that the offense level comes down in an argument and more constructive comes out of it.
Yeah.
And on the outside looking in, like if you Jerry Springer viewed it, you'd be like, they're gonna throw bows, but really we're being very constructive in our argument.
We know what we're doing. Yeah. But again, this is stuff that really has taken time of like, there's a question later that I saw of like, who usually gives up arguments first, and him, because I'm a bull, man.
It's not worth it.
It's not.
At a certain point, that argument's not worth it. To win is no longer a win. There's no point in keeping going, and being able to figure that out early
is the win. True.
I would agree with that. I don't think I give up I'm not giving up. It's a strategic move.
Checkmate.
So the next one is from Rhone, France. And normally wines from Rhone, France are primarily what are considered GSMs, Grenache, Syrah, Mourvedre. And they are blended in different ways. And you come up with these fantastic dynamic red wines. You get anything from like pepper to big fruit to earthy notes that can shine through on it. This guy should be a little bit more lush. This should have a little bit more of some of those raspberry tones, maybe some cherry tones, things like that through it. But this is going to be a really, really drinkable, affordable Rhone.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Cool. The question next, too, as we try this out, is how did Nate propose? Did he pick out the ring, or did you pick out your ring together?
The story.
The story.
Yeah, let's smell this guy, because this should be aromatic as well.
You're aromatic as well. Actually, I'm getting aromatic. I'm getting sweaty. That is good. That smells good.
Ooh. This should be very punchy. Mostly Grenache, I can smell, which is going to be the big fruit. It's going to be, it should taste like cooked raspberries.
It's good.
She had that look like, oh boy.
It's good.
That's good?
Yeah. That's good. That's good, huh? He's like a little monkey. The little toy monkeys. That's good. That's good.
You get the cooked raspberry thing, right? Yeah.
It's really good.
Cooked raspberry, but not
it's
sour.
Like a jam that's like in a drink.
All that Grenache is so just luscious fruits, really red driven, never really gets to like purple or black style fruits. But it doesn't also get plummy, which is nice.
So we have talked about our proposal story, if you will, in the past, but it's been a while. But in a nutshell, my friends, this kind of goes to my personality a lot. I'm not someone, now I say this, I don't like surprises, but yet surprise me. And that's kind of where it kind of falls into. So again, we got married when I was 19, he was 20, but we went to Six Flags with some friends. And we were at a hotel for the night before, gonna go the next day. But I knew that he had it, and being the person that I am, I couldn't let him have that over me. Mm-hmm. That was my personality then. I mean, it still is, but I'm better. I'm better.
She said that shit. She said then.
I'm better. I'm a work in progress, but I was like, I know you have it. Like, I know. And he's like, what are you talking about? Like children that we were. And yeah, and then basically it turned into, fine, go get it. So I went over to his little bag and got it. That's my proposal story. And
yeah, I threw it at her. So
not really. He was just like, here. And and then I turned the card. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
And then he asked if I'd actually marry him.
Yes.
And all that. But so it's not like some grand story at all. But you have to remember our age. And I mean, technically, I was even like, I think 18.
You were 18 when I proposed.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just, I wouldn't have it any other way, because again, for me, and things even with our wedding and stuff too, like, would I change? Yeah, probably today, if I got married today, there would be different things, but I wouldn't change a thing, because it's where we were. We didn't have alcohol at our wedding. We weren't old enough.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just things, and it's that I like who we were, and I like who we are now, and that we're still here together to tell the tale.
the picking out of the ring.
Yeah.
No. The actual wedding ring,
which is not this,
ring, which is not that,
which is what you see mostly. Is not my actual wedding ring.
I knew I wanted to propose, and at the time, once again, we were super young. I didn't have.
I love my wedding ring, by the way. He doesn't, but I do.
It's garbage.
I don't wear it.
Not to be rude to you because you love it or anything like that.
No.
But it is a very, very good anchor point of exactly, because I stretched
to get it.
I stretched myself
and it was not
to
very
get that
much.
ring, and it wasn't much. You know how they say, like, do 3 months of your salary or something like that? 3 months of my salary. It took me like 6 months to pay my mom back for that ring, and the ring was only like $300 or something. It wasn't. But it took me a hot minute.
But he has more of a problem with that than I do.
When you're proposed to, it's supposed to be a outgoing representation of my spouse with me at all times.
Right.
You know, it's that thing, and you deserve better than what your first wedding ring was, but or I want to be represented better than what that first wedding ring was now. But back then, this 18-year-old kid is going to propose, and you saw the wedding ring, you would think to yourself, man, that guy kind of went for it, you know? But now it's like being, 35 years old. My wife needs to have the ring that I think she needs to have still, and it's not the same ring.
That's why I wear this one, and don't get me wrong, I guard this with my life too. And why I love it. This is my style. This is me. But I love it because I know what it means to him.
Yeah.
That's why I love it. Yeah, I don't wear my wedding ring really at all anymore because I'm so paranoid though too, even more than the more expensive one, which also goes to show it doesn't matter. I don't want anything to happen to it. That's mine. That is mine.
That's right. This ring that Kim wears, she picked it out. That's a different story.
That's a whole other story.
We don't have enough time right now. So all of you that are curious on the next Q&A,
ask that
throw
one.
it out there.
Yeah. All right, next question. What's a bad habit of Nate's that you didn't find out about until after you were married, and vice versa?
Oh, okay. There was a vice. I was always like, dude, somebody just forgot about me.
Somebody forgot here. Okay, but here's the thing. The only thing that really comes to mind, to be honest, is that, again, he's just a very messy person. I didn't even mention this on my last vlog, and the kiddo takes after him. They are so messy. But it's organized chaos. It is, but he's very messy. But for a type A person or someone that's more of that neat freakness, like, it's really tough for me. But to be fair, I knew this about him even before. But for me to think of something that I didn't know is really hard because, again, we were so young.
Well, and I think there's a question coming up that we'll jump into about knowing each other or things like that. But yeah, I would say I was a big open book.
Yeah.
I'm a very out there person. What you see is what you get. If you look hard enough, you'll see everything. If you look hard enough, if you put in the effort, I don't hide much of anything. You're a little bit more of an enigma, something like that, but I can't really say. I knew you had that, that super winner, against the grain, I'll die before I lose attitude. I didn't know
how deep that was.
Yeah, like because she like told me, like in my childhood I played soccer and I had to win, and I was like, oh, okay. I didn't know that was going to resonate through everything you ever do in life at the time. I had a pretty good view when we got married, and then after we were married,
really saw.
Yeah, it kept developing, and now it's just something I live with.
It's one of my
but it's you drive.
Yeah,
it's your drive on almost anything.
Yeah.
Kim is one of those
balls to the wall
forces of nature. There's no wall that can stand up to a strong enough hurricane, and if she wants to blow hard enough, that wall's coming down.
It's coming down.
It doesn't matter.
Look out!
And nothing else matters.
Yeah.
I don't think I knew that about you when we got married. Mm-hmm. I think that translated to a lot of things in our marriage.
Yeah, it was a lot in the beginning. It was hard.
That was unexpected for how hard of a fighter she is about kind of anything she cares about. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't. At a certain point, I think I could have viewed that as a negative characteristic, but now I see it as an absolute strength.
It is, but it can be negative. It definitely can be.
But yeah, and I think I help, and over the years, not saying that I'm great, but I've helped her mold, I think, herself in a better direction.
I'm a lot more open of a person than I ever was, too. Mm-hmm. And I think that really, just finding that balance between two people. But yeah, that's definitely hard for someone who's not that way to be up against someone that's that way. Yeah. It's like, why can't it just be this? No, it's gotta be this. Yeah. Favorite way to keep things spicy?
Hey, you gotta keep the person on their toes. Don't be boring to your spouse.
if I was talking to one of my girlfriends, which most of you are just one of my girlfriends, that I would tell them the identical thing. In my opinion, there should be nothing that I can't do around him, with him, for him, whatever it is, because this is my person that I am choosing to be with forever, and I will be the most comfortable and myself with him. And the point with that, and I would tell a friend this, that if you don't like something and you're so scared of doing something or whatever it is, and you end up doing it and you don't like it, don't do it again. It's that simple. Right. But the mindset should be you're open to so many things. This is my opinion, because it's your person. It's your one person that you should be able to just, whatever happens, and good and bad, and you find out. Otherwise it gets so mundane.
Yeah.
Life, just in general, whether you're talking spicy in that context or not, it's just in general that if you can have that with a person, have that. Don't have that that guard up, because that's no. Yeah. There's a question with this later that will kind of tie back into that, but sorry, Coco, but it does. It ties back into that mindset of how do you keep things, going in general. It's not having a door closed to something, you just, if you're going to commit to someone for 15 years with the same person, you want that person to be your person, and you can change and adapt together, Tell me about this next one.
Okay, so this one I'm excited to share.
Yeah.
So, for those of you that do drink wine.
That's good.
Oh, okay. Well, you haven't had it yet, so there's that.
I'm getting a little flush.
So this is Venstone. This is a California Tri-Appellation Pinot Noir.
He loves Pinot Noir.
I do. I don't necessarily always love Californian Pinot Noir done in this way.
Okay.
But this guy here is a Sonoma, Monterey, and Santa Barbara Pinot Noir. So they take grapes from each one of these regions and they blend them together. There's decadent fruit. That's
good. It's very good.
Remember how I was talking about that tight condension of fruit that just blows up?
It's very good.
It's so good.
That's very good. All right, next question is, who usually ends an argument first? And like we kind of went into already,
I do.
he does, because I'm the bull, you know. That too. But there's another question coming that kind of goes into that too, and we'll kind of get into that, but I'll leave it at that for now, that he does. Hardest thing you went through together. And so this is a little bit different from the original question of, hardest thing just in general, but hardest thing more so as a couple.
Ooh. Okay. Coco's eating cat food behind you.
But we love her.
So if you hear little crunches, that's what that is.
She's a sweet girl.
Hey, you're okay. You don't have to eat right now, Pumpkin.
Every 10 minutes, baby. I understand.
So the toughest thing, relationship-wise, that we
we'll answer this one as more of as a couple.
Yes. I can say it now because I'm really comfortable with it. I wasn't the world's best husband for a few years. I never did anything that I think breaks some big moral code, but I do believe that there was selfish career, motivational things that happened, and not really being there for Kim during pretty much the time frame for it would be the first year
or two,
maybe 2 years of our son being born, so 2010 to 2011-ish. I was an absentee husband. I went to work to escape the house. I put work in front of family and her. And it built tons of animosity that was very deserved, that at the time I took a very narrow-minded approach of just saying, well, I'm doing this for you, instead of I was doing it for myself. And I was defensive about it, and I was very offended that it was brought up in a bigger view from her, and that caused a lot of animosity for a long time, and it was a very dark time. I mean, it was literally, to answer the question, if you wanted to phrase it a different way, it was the darkest point of our marriage.
And I think in some form it has a lot to do with our answer too about having another kid. Now again, our son is 10. So a lot of time has gone by, and we are past that. And to bring it back to a positive, like, I can look at that time now and know that was just part of being young and part of being where we were at the time together and learning still what was important to each of us.
Yeah.
But at the time, you couldn't have convinced either of us of that, But it was a really hard time when our son was born, and so it in some ways it's not a very fuzzy feeling to have another kid, if that makes sense, because in some form it does take us back to that baby stage of where we were at that time.
Yeah, and I think that might have delayed some of the second child stuff.
Trying again, right.
Where now we see past it.
Right.
And we can kind of say, oh man, I have these feelings, but they're like the knee-jerk natural feelings that you can get over really quick and rationalize, which is reality.
Right.
But yeah, it delayed maybe even that second child conversation from
That's
happening.
the truth. That's being very raw.
Yeah.
It is, and that would be the answer for sure. It's not like a distinct one singular, he did this or I did this.
Yeah, and
it was that time.
Not to pacify the way I explained that, but that took 7 to 8 years to be able to say. Like, I can say it now kind of nonchalant how I just said it, and it's not just the wine making it, so I can explain it like that at any time. But yeah, it takes time to be comfortable with the mistakes, we'll call it a mistake, that a person can make towards another person that you've already, if you cut someone off, it's no big deal, but when you literally, neglect your spouse that you chose to live the rest of your life with, that's some hurtful stuff. So I think we both come to some far. I mean, I don't feel any animosity towards it now, but it's taken a long time.
That's why, again, we can talk about it, and there is no hard feelings. But it was not always that way. All right, next one. Was it hard to convince Nate to go vegan? My husband and I have been married for 20 years, and he ain't having it.
20 years. Congratulations on 20 years.
That's right.
Congratulations on 20 years.
So again, it kind of relates back though to even the key, how do you keep it spicy question even.
Yeah.
It's just being, we have this is something we do have together of keeping things open. You know, there's if we have new ideas, we roll with them together, or we try to, you know. And so for Nate, his answer really kind of was too that like, okay, let's try this out. But he didn't know when we started, was it something for 100% sure that he was going to stick to?
Yeah.
Yeah, but then it just was one of those, let's try it out. You know, that's where it really began for him. What I say too, when people are, you know, when a spouse in general is not on board, whether it's to a certain diet, whether it's vegan or not, any diet, or onto fitness even, you know, you don't connect there. And sometimes Nate and I still struggle with that aspect of like, my idea of fitness is different than his. And so I want him to do more, and he wants me to do less on that, you know, and it's hard sometimes, it is. But I do feel like, in general, that's when if it's really important to you, you need to just hold on tight. It's really hard to do without support, but do it for yourself and let those people see what's happening to your world. Meaning you're probably going to see a lot of benefits from doing something that's positive in your life, right? And I think that's the best motivation for people is to just go, oh, well, if they're doing that and then this is how they feel, then you know, I could do it too. And it's just kind of lead by example. I know it's kind of the golden rule. All right, this is a good one because it's very crazy you ask it right now. But this next question is, do you think you will always live in California? Where else would you like to live? And it's just really weird that you asked that right now because we've definitely been talking about that. I know we have touched on this before. If you did not know, Nate and I both have been born and raised in California. He's been in different parts. I've been born and raised here in Fresno, California.
In the same well, I guess when you were a baby.
I was Fresno, but then we went to Clovis.
It's a 15-mile radius.
Yeah.
But realistically, for all of your years except the first few months of your life, have been in the same 3-mile living radius.
Yeah, truly. I'm 35 this year. I'm not quite, but almost 35, and I really have. And so on one hand, it's so funny how it literally is this, because part of me wants to go discover something different, right? It makes sense. But then at the same time, it's like, this is all I know. And so there's comfort in that too. But no, we've definitely been talking about it a lot of like, you know, we're open to it. We are very open. But we're also not looking to just make a rash decision and roll with that. We're not those kind of people in that way. So we'll see. But places that we would consider.
Places we would consider. I don't think
at this point, anyway.
Yeah, at this point, just like today.
Yeah.
We're going to say today. Colorado, Colorado Springs area, or Denver-ish.
We have a cousin there, or I have a cousin there.
Yeah.
So that's a little
we
comfort.
Have a cousin.
Yes,
My
I'm just saying if someone asks, well, whose cousin?
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so there's a little comfort in that. We've said Colorado. We've said Arizona.
Arizona, we've got some friends. Las Vegas isn't completely out of the question, but boy, talking about putting the
I don't know that I could handle that because anyway, but
because there's that whole point of when you move to Las Vegas, you got to burn through that touristy mode and become a resident. Yeah, and that can be expensive.
That can be an expensive process that he's not really ready to tackle. But yeah, those are the states that we've kind of talked about more so.
Other states, and then there's like these one-offs that kind of run into there, like. I see pictures, I don't know why it is, but I see pictures of like Montana. Montana just seems like a beautiful place to live.
It's one of those, it's just a weird timing that you ask that because it's just something that we have definitely been talking, but I would say probably majority of us are having these types of conversations wherever you're from. especially based on everything going on in the world right now as it is. It's just, but we have to also keep in mind that like no grass ain't always greener, you know, you have to not move because of something directly, but it definitely influences the conversation. That's for sure. It does. So it's something that we've truly been talking about recently. So we will see what the future brings.
Yeah. This one here being Silver Ghost. Yeah.
Boy.
Color is absolutely beautiful. If you don't finish it, it's okay. I don't know if this is gonna have the structure to last much further than today, but this should be fantastic. Yeah. So yeah, I was gonna say this. I'm excited.
I like it.
Ooh.
It is very peppery.
The body is, but the acidity, the fruit and the acidity is there. I don't want to say that it's being out showcased by a lot of the body tones and a lot of the spice. It's not baking spice. It is far more organic, like you were talking about. So it's more cracked pepper. Oh,
That's
but it's
good.
Ooh.
This might be my favorite one, although I love all your questions, but this is a good one. And it kind of just even goes back to some of the things we talked about. But what is the 3 pieces of advice you would give yourselves as a young couple? So instead of doing 3 each, let's just do kind of 3 together. So you go first.
I would given myself the advice of, even though you hold yourself to a very selfless person, do not ever lose sight that you can be selfish.
That's a good one. That's good advice. Kind of, again, goes back to some of the things we have talked about.
Yeah.
Mine kind of relates back to what I said, and what I hold really, really, really high in our relationship is this person, I don't care if you're 18 or if you're 35, that this is the person that you chose to spend the rest of your life with. And so there should be nothing that is uncomfortable for you to present with one another. So never have that door completely closed to anything, because that is your person.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you have to go full force of something in general, you know, but being open to talking about those things, whether it's feelings or actually doing something with that person. So it's just being very, very comfortable, because that's your person. I think as soon as people have that little guard up of like, oh no, it's embarrassing, or I can't talk about that, or whatever. I get it. There is shame, right? There is that, but it shouldn't, in my opinion, be with that person.
Yeah. No fear of judgment. Fear of judgment, man. When you find somebody, when you commit to somebody, you should literally lose the fear of judgment with that person.
For me, there is nothing that I could do. Maybe this could be not good and bad, but it's more of like, Kim, you really do that, or you really talk about that? Yeah, there is nothing that we have not gone there with, and I think it's one of the greatest things you can have with one person. I really do.
And have that as a jump off point would be so strong. That is so good.
What else? One more final thing.
So I think what happens is
you put an expectation on the word marriage.
Yes. Yeah. You stamp something. Yeah. You say, we're getting married.
So now everything has to be this, and this.
Don't turn the page in the book. Think of it as a fluid, transcendent experience into what that next chapter is, without flipping the page. And you're gonna take it. You know, you're gonna take what that experience is gonna give you through that moving forward.
Very, very guilty of this as a young couple, of thinking you put that label on it, and then you have that idea in your head that, you know, marriage is now this, and this, based on what you see in media, based on what you see in movies,
or even your parents,
or even your parents, or even other family. It's true, and I think that it's one of the things that will just kill a marriage very quickly
Yeah.
and that spirit behind it, because you will never live up to that expectation, but naturally, especially at a young age, we would have that in our heads. So I agree. I think it's just really, really take on that friendship and grow it. And with friendship, and marriage, but with friendship, it's acceptable to have arguments. It's acceptable to not agree all the time. But in marriage, we have this idea that it can't be that way. I like it. That would have been helpful 15 years ago. Next one. Do either of you have celebrity crush?
Ryan Reynolds.
Same. I've always had a thing for The Rock, and it's beyond even a physical thing. I mean, who doesn't? He is such a incredible figure in many ways. So I just have because he's so likable.
But you also gotta hate him a little bit for that.
He's so likable.
Like,
and the same person asked, "Are you jealous people?" And if someone, now this is kind of a funny one because I feel like I can say this. I feel confident in saying this that it has changed. And if someone hot walks by, guy or girl, do you get mad at the other one for looking? And here's my answer. Am I a jealous person? Yes. Naturally, I have always been a jealous person. But I don't feel like I am anymore. I don't. And so with that said, if someone hot walks by, guy or girl, we both usually go together.
would you hit that?
Would you hit that? As immature as it sounds,
yeah,
we do. We're like that now. So no, we don't get mad at one another when that happens. But before, I was definitely more of a jealous person.
Yeah, I've always written off.
He's never been a jealous person.
I will tell you that in character flaws alone.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever been a jealous person.
No, he's never been a jealous person.
I feel like no one should ever be that definite about something.
No, you weren't though. Like you just really were not a jealous person, and that was a conflict in itself. Of like sometimes you get that like idea that if
you wanted me to be jealous.
I did. It was that idea that it comes with that if someone's jealous, they care. Now I've learned that that's not true. That it doesn't have to be that correlation, you know. But I really feel like that's something that has truly changed for me. All right, biggest challenge you overcame as a couple. I think it would just be going back to like our hardest time.
The dark
time, that era. Yeah, I would say that. Last one is, when did you decide to start a vegan lifestyle?
Yeah.
2016.
Tell me the day.
I know. So that's the thing.
Tell me the day.
I need to know.
She tracks these things better than me. It was her idea. She needs to. There's no calendar anywhere with an X.
Again, type A.
No.
I track everything, and I do not have a day. Like March 2016, but it's funny. I don't have a true like this day. I don't.
Those came in a weird order. I'm glad you did them.
I left them in the order that I got them.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, man, it started off like real cool, and then it got heavy,
and then we scaled it back,
and then it just kind of came back and
kept them in the order that they came. But this is 15 years.
15 years.
Actually, today, my friends, today, because when you see this, it's the day.
This is
the third.
Right. Because it's third. Yeah.
Yep. So September 3rd, 2005, we got married, and we've been together for 17 years, but married for 15.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Cheers to 15 years.
Oh, look at you go. I'm glad you enjoy your wine, by the way.
Yeah, it's good. It's real good. It's real good. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed. I know this was long. I understand, but I hope you just enjoyed kicking back with us. I hope you were doing your laundry, you're doing your dishes. That's what I do when I watch YouTube. Drinking, whatever it takes, you know. But I hope you guys enjoyed, got to know a little bit more about us. If you are especially newer to my channel, that's who we are. We're goofy, we are ridiculous sometimes, but at the end of the day, we are each other's rock and been through a lot and here to tell the tale. And that's my advice.
Still swinging.
Still swinging.
Still swinging.
Still swinging.
Still fighting like my life depends on it.
That's how it works. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed, and we will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.